before I start.
If it's actually live, because it's not that fast. It's a slight delay.
Also,
Slight delay.
yeah, slight delay.
It's a bit warm.
Yeah, it is very warm. See, you're already doing things that are gonna make people tonight.
Just kidding.
She's like, I'm a little warm.
Doesn't seem to be working. Oh, it does.
Okay, cool. Yay. Oh man. All right. Well,
Yeah,
hello
they can
everybody.
hear us. Awesome.
Cool. Hello everybody. I'm Yulia.
Hello, Yulia.
You might have. I killed Rick and now I'm here instead of Rick. This is just
this?
a hologram.
This ghost?
A hologram. I'm very far-fetched and forward-thinking, but yes, I'm Yulia. You might have seen me here before. This is Rick, or his hologram, and this is Alex.
Really well. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for hosting me today.
And maybe introduce yourself. And what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm basically French journalist working in Ukraine for. It's going to be 9 years in June. I've been working for various media. No, I'm mostly working for United 24. Mostly doing some frontline reporting, but I covered like a various array of topics throughout the years here. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm still chewing on camera. I hate this, you know that, guys, but I needed to finish some snack before we begin because I need some calories, because I am on low energy today, dying from exhaustion, so I'm drinking a big cup of coffee today.
Wow, you're so unique.
Oh yeah. No, it's just like I do you like to be unique?
It's quite a start. It's quite a start.
He just wants to eat. That's why he needs me to
Just trying
speak.
to fill up the bag.
Give it to me. Okay. I just wanted to say that I'm happy to see you here. I wanted to drag you into the coffee shop stream for a long time now, because this format lives for about 8 months already, and you still haven't been here. And you brought a friend. That's awesome. So it's not just Yulia. We're gonna have some interesting conversation here, I bet, today, because Yulia has always a lot to say, and I like it about her, especially about U.S. politics. So Yulia, thank you for being an inspiration. Okay.
Thank you. We will come to find out he has even more to say.
Uh-huh.
So.
Great. That's what I.
I'm the French counterpart on that matter. So yeah.
Yeah, we're lacking some European perspective. So.
Exactly. We do. Rick, can you ask Yulia to reach out to U.S. YouTube media like Bulwark and Midas Touch?
I mean, I can, but they're very big, and I don't know if they're gonna react to me. I think Midas Touch is now the most listened to podcast, and they have surpassed Joe Rogan, which is very cool because they're a liberal media. But yeah, I will attempt. I give you my word.
Thank you, because Tuna probably discovered a long time ago, but she mentioned this first guy or media to me, Bulwark. Is it the guy or the whole thing? Do you know? I
actually have no idea who Bulwark is, but Midas Touch I know. Maybe he's one of the like anchors, because they have like TikTok/YouTube/Instagram anchors for their shorts and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I wanted to thank Dan Smith for 2 times 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Dan.
Last time I did a stream, Dan donated like 120 memberships. I'm not even kidding.
So that's a fan of yours, definitely. I don't see Dan much around here, I would say so.
Well, I'm never online, so I think it's
Dan, thank you and welcome. So guys, I remind you that I use every stream as an opportunity to raise funds for Ukrainian army. And today I brought a flag with me that is on the raffle. I wonder if we should make a blanket of it for us already or later. Probably later, but I remind you guys, those of you, my regulars, you've seen it yesterday on the stream. I presented it on the Nation stream. Yeah, I'm donating all the money I raised during the week on this special stream dedicated to it, because, damn, this community is donating a lot of money, and I just need to, take a lot of time to do the accounting and all that stuff. Thank you guys. Good work to do, to be honest, and to have the ability to support the Ukrainian army. I also remind you about the NAFO truck campaign. It's the second link in the description of the stream, and my PayPal to send a donation for the flag. No, well, buy tickets for the flag with the donation, because money will go not for the flag purchase or something. This flag was sent from the soldiers, Chimera Group. Okay, let's show it. Come on, I'm just like
you're talking about it, but like we don't really see it. So
I'm going to give you, aesthetic commentary.
Well, that's nice.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's a drone. It's a drone battalion. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are. Yulia, come on.
We're gonna kill the enemy in their own home.
No, we're already killing them. Not
maybe
them, but beating them.
Oh, we're beating the enemy in their own home, so that in our home we can sleep sound. And then greetings from the
Kursk People's Republic.
Oh.
Kursk.
Oh, Kuranar.
Yeah, so they are the border guards, and they are engaged in Kursk operation, which is unfortunately at its I don't know,
last leg.
Like final stage or something, because troops are being withdrawn already, and we here in the rear, we're so happy about it, and all the time we were so proud that our military controlling part of Russian territory, but we need to remember at what cost it all comes.
Well, we talked about it earlier today, right? Because
once again to the people. So guys, that's the item on the raffle. Yulia, when I speak, may I ask you to lean the microphone to me? Thank you.
Yes, of
or
course.
I can
as
hold
your
it.
assistant, I will love to do that.
No, you're my guest, but my guests are usually helping me. So guys, this awesome Chimera flag signed by 10 soldiers, to whom we help all the time, and you can buy one ticket with $10, and you can buy as many tickets as you want. Thank you for the attention. Let's put it here as a reminder that yes, this is the raffle item. This skull with a drone on it, an FPV drone, obviously with an RPG shot on it, is the weapon of the Ukrainian defense. I think it's a symbol for the last 2 years of the strong Ukrainian defense.
Unfortunately started leading in drone warfare. But yeah, there have been a lot of rumors sort of as to why the Kursk operation is coming to an end, and a lot of the rumors circulating are because of the peace talks. But
no, I mean from what we hear and from what we saw from experts, basically the operation was already starting to dwindle in January. So it's hard to... I mean, there were a lot of speculation over the fact that when the US cut the intel to Ukraine, basically it sort of accelerated the whole Kursk dwindling, because it was mostly touching attacks inside Russia. But it was already Ukrainian soldiers were already more or less retreating from that. But it was an interesting operation, because at the end of the day, we also saw for the first time the involvement of North Korean soldiers, and maybe it was also a wake-up call for, Western countries to see that actually Russia also brings in, North Korean troops, and that it's ready to actually, involve a lot more than just Russia.
And I think it's inevitable that North Korean troops are now going to be fighting on Ukrainian territory. It's not going to be like that. Just they're going to say, "Oh, that's the end of our holy training," as they call it in North Korea, and we're basically coming home. No, they're going to keep fighting, and when the last soldier retreats from so-called Russian territory, because Kursk is Ukraine. It's a Ukrainian territory historically, and someday it will come back.
Okay,
to
debatable.
Ukraine.
But yeah, okay.
I know. I like to exaggerate things sometimes, but a lot of soldiers actually think and feel and say that it's a Ukrainian territory by right, historically, and Russians actually 100 years ago, a bit more than that, they annexed that territory and
1918.
exactly 1919. And I just wanted to also add quickly to the so-called wrap-up of the Kursk operation. The biggest problem is not the intel, it's the logistics. The only road that led there was totally covered by Russian FPV drones, the digital ones or the fiber optic ones, and it's just impossible to do any successful operation when you cannot provide your troops with ammunition, food, anything. Unfortunately, there's not enough big drones to deliver everything by air. It's enough to maybe supply a battalion or two, or a brigade or two, but not that many brigades that are engaged there. So unfortunately, this was the main problem. You know, Russians had much wider territory outside of that zone to actually cover their logistics, and it was pretty easy to cover the logistics of Ukrainian troops.
Well, I mean, there is that, and there's also like just a couple of important things that I reckon are important to remember is that Kursk was also supposed to be, well, first a prisoner fund for Ukraine, like taking as many Russian prisoners of war possible to exchange them against Ukrainian prisoners at first. And I believe that also Ukraine was under the illusion that, unfortunately, that Russia would actually wake up and could use it as a leverage for other occupied territories. And when you saw that after a month, Russia wasn't necessarily reacting, it was reacting extremely slowly towards that. You know, it's a complicated territory to keep when actually it doesn't become that kind of leverage. So, I mean, if today actually Ukraine can repatriate those troops and actually help and bring in those troops back in the east, where actually Ukraine is pushing around Toretsk and Pokrovsk, but I think we're going to talk about it a bit later. But there are some localized gains around Pokrovsk and Toretsk and all this, and Kupiansk and these areas, and I think that's an interesting trend to follow on the Ukrainian side. That is, I mean, maybe you have like obviously your thoughts about it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with that. I don't think that it's not worth taking the losses that we're taking to keep something that we can't use as leverage, right? If we could have exchanged it for our territory, or if we could have used it to like negotiate with Putin in some sort of way, then it would make sense. But now it's pretty obvious that he doesn't care. It was never about territory to begin with. Like, he has enough territory to choke on it, but like...
Yeah, I mean, and the other danger, which I personally see looming, especially now that Ukraine is trying to show its good faith in negotiations, so-called negotiations with the US, is that, I mean, it's Russian textbook, right? So basically, that's what I believe. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I do believe that when Russian soldiers are going to take back Kursk territory, there's a lot of chances that war crimes are going to be committed against their own. And there might be some false flag operations, basically, you know, using Ukrainian flag and saying like, oh, look how Ukrainians are while treating, you know, the Russians. And it's really classic textbook. And that's the thing I'm a bit afraid of, like this sort of, basically war crimes against their own population, and you know, putting the Ukrainian flag on it and see how Ukrainians are treating, you know, because that's how Russians behave, unfortunately, and again against their very own. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a lot to say about when the Ukrainian army came into Kursk and brought water and food and stuff, and the people that were left there, which I do need to point out were largely like alcoholics in the lower verse of the population that couldn't leave, because obviously usually like if you have resources you'll leave, but still they were the people that weren't being taken care of by the government like at all. So them being occupied with a foreign military, they had a better level of life than they did before the foreign military came in there.
Well, there was that, and also there was this moment where basically like I remember the governor of Kursk saying that they would evacuate Russian people from the Kursk Oblast wanted to evacuate to occupied part of Ukrainian southern Ukraine, so basically like in occupied part of Zaporizhia or Kherson, being like, okay, so how are you going to bring those people? Are you going to bring them through occupied territories, i.e. like Donetsk, Luhansk, that are constantly bombed by Russia itself, and put them in another territory that might be retaken at one point to what? To evacuate them again? I mean, you know, there was this really weird dynamic, but also that shows, I think it shows a lot also, and that's a deeper issue on the demographic replacement, which is, by the way, something which is a crime against, you know, in my memory, against the Geneva Convention. I don't remember exactly. Basically, replacing local population by Russians.
It's one of the markers of genocide.
Yeah.
That's genocide.
And it's part of it. Yeah.
I want to interrupt you for a second and mention two donations: $47 from Bina and 30 cents, saying for whatever is needed. Tickets for me, please. Thank you, Bina. So 5 tickets to you, Bina. I'm making an exception and giving one ticket for $7 and 30 cents. I do it time to time.
I'm sure that it's because sometimes when you send a PayPal to like from a different country, it'll take a percentage, especially if you didn't switch it to friends and family, but used it as commercial, which it sometimes does. And it takes a fee.
Yeah,
so I think they meant to donate $50.
$50 from Frank V. 5 tickets, please. Good start, guys.
Hi, Frank.
Frank?
Thanks.
Frank is also a roller. So, Alex, the thing about the rollers, I call my community members Rick Rollers. It's not the name that I was given to them. It was Dick Dawson coming to the stream once and saying, you know what, I have the name for your community. I'll call them Rick Rollers. And
it's quite a reference.
Yeah, and of course, we're doing the Rick Roll time to time. We actually have that song as a motto, you know, like, never gonna give you up.
You put it in my head, that's it. Thank you for the warm.
We're a very dedicated community, both to each other, you know, and to Ukrainian army. So that's a hymn of this community, I would say, and for a reason. So, Rollers, I want to ask you to send more donations and buy more tickets for this beautiful flag. Let's show it again. That's on the raffle this week. Presenting the item, look at this beautiful red and black flag that has a skull with an FPV on its forehead. And it's a Chimera Death from the Sky unit from the Border Guard Brigade called the Steel Border Brigade. And we are helping these guys constantly, like at least once a month we're closing a fundraiser for them. Not a big one, something like $1,500 to $2,000. It's not a big one because like at least like once a month we're closing a fundraiser for $10,000, $11,000, sometimes 2 times a month if we're lucky to raise that much money. So thank you guys, you are fucking awesome, and keep donating. Hey, Martin Bissick, $53, $3 for Bina, round up. The flag has to be mine. Okay, 5 tickets for you, Martin. Thank you very much for this donation. So we've raised so far $150, and my minimum goal for today is $500. The maximum one is, let's say, 1,000. Would be cool.
Don't put maximums on
no
things.
Maximums. Okay.
Minimum is 500.
I just know. Okay, there are no limits for this community. Last week on one of these during the week streams, we raised $2,000. So yeah, maybe, but it comes with some big donations. Usually, some extra donation of 1,000 can make it 2,000. But okay, guys, I know that you have no limits. Thank you, Yulia. It's a great advice. I'm not going to be putting any limits on the rollers. Keep donating, guys.
The only polite French person from Paris, so like you have to, they have to acknowledge that with donations.
Wait a minute. We're very polite in France. Just, come on.
Superstitions, Yulia.
These are prejudice, not
Prejudice, not superstition. Okay, what's a superstition? How do you translate it into Ukrainian?
Zabobony.
Zabobony. Yeah, that's a prejudice. It's not
No. Superstitions are zabobony. Prejudice is like...
I know. I mean, this is a prejudice.
Oh, yeah.
That is between you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel attacked right now. No, like...
I needed to say something to have like, an influx of donations. So like, gave it up to a polite French person.
Okay, got it now. I see now where you were going. We did not let you finish. But let's communicate with the chat more. Who do we have there? We have that Opal guy. Do you know that Opal guy?
No.
That Opal guy, where are you from? Also, Card Collector, where are you from? My issue is the length of this war, not who and who is not our enemy, because that's Russia. Yeah, Russia is the enemy, but Card Collector, where are you from?
Sorry.
wait,
my issue is also the length of this war. Like, I don't like that I live.
To be honest, it's very uncertain statement. Okay.
No. I know, but
I cannot.
it could be from a person. Okay, so like I usually jump on the defensive, right?
Yeah.
But because I normally have a lot of like really bad meaning people kind of writing these comments, and I can see this as being like, oh, I wish the war ended earlier because I wish the U.S. gave you everything you needed, or I could be like, oh, I'm so tired of this. This has been like 3 years. It doesn't matter who is right or who is wrong. Russia's wrong, but like, come on, let's wrap it up. And the thing is, like, I also don't like the duration of this war. Like, I'm not. First of all, it's been 11 years, and if we look back at all of the escalations that Russia did, we now have proof that Russia poisoned Viktor Yushchenko, who was the president running against Yanukovych, the president we took down in the. Yeah, the CIA released files showing that it was Russia actually poisoning Yushchenko. So now we have actual foreign interference that dates back to 2004, and then we have the island in between Crimea and Russia that basically holds the Crimean bridge now, and that island was under Ukrainian control and a territory of Ukraine, and Russia tried to annex it because it was a good strategic location for them. The island is like, I don't know, maybe it's very small.
Julia, Card Collector is from New York City, the Big Apple.
Oh, well, I mean, me too. You're
from Lviv.
Yeah, but
right? Or it's Lviv
no,
itself?
Lviv.
Lviv itself. Sorry,
I mean, I'm not offended.
Mix it in my head, because those city people like you, Julia, they like to say, you know what? I'm actually from the Lviv itself. I'm not some rural girl,
No, like the way that you can like find out who is from Lviv and who isn't is someone who says yeah z Lvova is automatically not from Lviv because it's z Lvova. Like you have to have
Even
like.
I say it that way.
Well, then you could pass for a Lviv person, even though you're from Donetsk, and technically we're supposed to hate each other according to trolls, right?
Yeah, fuck trolls. I just wanted to maybe continue trying to understand Card Collector, but I do know what side I'm on, even though I'm horrible at geography. So, do you know where Ukraine is, Card Collector?
In between Russia and Poland.
I think a lot of people know that by now. No, I mean, like, you wanted to talk about the length, but I think, like, it's interesting to... I mean, we often talk about it, and it's interesting to draw the parallel between this war and other wars. And I tend to often draw the parallel of this war between Ukraine and Russia to the war of independence of Ireland. There's a lot of parallels to be drawn. First, there's the famine, the Holodomor and the potato famine. And second, what England tends to call the Troubles. Actually, like, it took like 30 years plus to actually settle. And it's not even settled yet. I mean, it's still a powder keg. Like, Belfast and its border is still a powder keg. So, point being, it's not going to be settled tomorrow. And, of course... again, I'm French, but I live here for 9 years. I don't necessarily have, cards in the game, but I mean, the people who are in those regions that were supposed to be, quote, liberated by Russia, the Russian-speaking regions, are the first one, and were the first one to take the brunt of this war, and are the first one to take... I mean, it's a whole generation. It's like, 10 years old who have been, like, brainwashed by Russia there. And I think my point is that, I mean, from an external point of view, 3 years of full-scale invasion, not war, is long. Now, 11 years of war is even longer, but it's even longer for people who actually live through it and who actually, every night or every day receive drones or Iskander or missiles and stuff like that. So, obviously it's long, but I'm not sure it's a good reason to give up, reference to to the rollers. I see. You see, I'm following. Yeah. To
I know
give
what
up
I'm going to listen to
and
in the car back home.
I know. And it's not necessarily a good reason to abandon those territories to Russia and to Russian soldiers whom we know will constantly, commit atrocities on these populations. So I think that was my 2 cents on this matter of length.
Yeah.
I have a response. Sorry to interrupt you, Yulia, but I'm trying to be more communicative with the chat. Like engaging with chat usually keeps the stream going and people come in, and so I try to do that more often lately. And I just wanted to comment on this message of Card Collector. I didn't ask the lengths because I want to end. I want it to end. I asked the lengths because it feels like it's been forever, like over a decade. Dude, it's been 11 years. It's been a decade, actually. And if you think Russia started this war against Ukraine just 3 years ago, no, it started 11 years ago openly, and it was undermining Ukrainian state long before that. And the whole not conflict, confrontation between Ukraine and Russia goes actually Moscovia, not Russia. It goes back centuries, 400 years ago, at least 400 years ago. Hey, wait, actually, I think it was 15th century when they started invading. So over 500 years ago, when the first Moscovian...
I mean, do we count the Pereyaslav Treaty for that? And the betrayal over the Pereyaslav Treaty? For me, it's a turning point, but maybe, I mean, it's a very specific moment of history. But yeah.
Even before that, they were invading Kyiv, Rus. I think the first...
So do we count the Golden Horde? do we go back to the Mongols invasion? Yeah,
Moscovia is a part of the Golden Horde. Yes, they were doing that. So it's been going for a while. But
maybe Alex might want to give context to the Pereyaslav Treaty for people because they don't know what.
Please do. Yeah.
Okay. Alex. So basically, for
some, right?
Was for some historians. In Ukrainian historians, it was considered a turning point because that's the moment where Bogdan Khmelnytsky, a famous war leader, as the hetman, but that would translate as war leader.
First Ukrainian president.
It's like
it's
closer.
Cossacks actually.
I mean, how would you describe the hetman?
Closer to a king in a way.
It's close to a king, but they had like their summit. So it's like more like a Roman Empire where some privileged people were choosing their leader.
I want to say elected prince. So it's closer. It's closer
elected
to that.
King. Let's call it that way.
Basically, did a treaty with Russia, with the Russian Empire.
Statesman.
And against, it was in my memory against the Poles at the time because the Cossacks wanted to get rid of the yoke of the Poles. Russian Empire betrayed the Cossacks, and that was considered by many as a turning point of the official expansion and the destruction of part of the very cradle of the Ukrainian community, because the Cossacks have always been associated to and with Ukrainian community. Zaporizhian Cossacks, that is. So it is considered a turning point in the history of the complex relationships between Ukraine and Russia at the time. Just to sum up really, really quickly.
It was actually a first precedent of the saying Russia agreements with Russia doesn't worse the paper that it is signed on, because Russians betrayed that agreement, and that was their plan all along. And that was the first time Ukrainians discovered that, and they kept repeated that mistake again and again up until now. I hope we won't sign any treaties with Russia anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, we think we might, but no, but I just don't think that this time we're naive enough to think it's actually going to work. I think this time it's strategic on the part of Ukraine to show the world that Russia, yet again, won't keep its promises. And also for the duration of, I don't know, the 5 days of the ceasefire that Russia is going to adhere to, we're going to potentially like regroup and remilitarize. Also, I think the main point in this was to get the U.S. help back, because Zelensky at this point understands that we can't trust the U.S. and we can't trust Russia, but both of these powers are pressuring us, so we have to do something about it. So he's kind of like doing a Trojan horse where he's like, hey, look, we're totally ready for peace. And there are two scenarios: either Russia doesn't accept it, or I think Ukraine is gonna make all of the infrastructure for Russia to screw it up, to show that, this is what happens every time.
My fear is Putin, and he's Russia. Like, it's not only Putin. There's a huge number of people behind him who are making all of this happen. So when you all, and I myself, say Putin, we must remember that not Putin is actually
it's a system.
Attacking Ukraine and invading us and committing genocide. There are millions of Russians who are engaged in that. And I wanted to express my fear that there might be a situation. It's not like a fear that can destroy us, but still. Since we don't trust US, right, and I don't trust US, I see that the next thing may happen. They agree for treaty, Russia starts breaking it, and Trump and his people will start blaming Ukraine for breaking it. Following, Russian agenda, Russian propaganda, and they might be just doing that. So we'll see. Maybe that's another trap, just like the meeting in the Oval Office.
Well, I think first of all, I think it is but, and there's a big one here. Obviously, when the Minsk agreement, when the Minsk agreement, not plural, there wasn't Minsk 1 and 2. The second one was the application of the first one.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remind that. OSCE was there to record quote violations every day. So they would work, and I was working in Donbass at the time in 2016. They would work from 9 to 5, and literally when they were living at 5, you could hear the artillery coming back from the other side. Now, where I'm going with is that today, with the drone technology compared to 2016, it's way easier to record those violations. Yeah. You don't necessarily need to bring in a team of people there that are just gonna do this like tedious job of, okay, you heard that, we heard that, blah blah blah, which is how the OSCE was working, and maybe that will help sort of show that Russia is indeed violating or will be violating this ceasefire. Plus, we didn't have that much OSINT in 2016, 2017. Now it's way easier to actually spot, who's actually to blame on that matter.
Satellites as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that might work in favor of Ukraine. The other thing, my fear would rather be that since there's a potential ceasefire sign, that Europe will be like, oh, the US is back in the game. Now we can go easy on relaunching production weapons and stuff like that. I just hope that the wake-up call over the US behavior was a real wake-up call, and that Macron and other leaders actually really understood that it's not because there is a potential ceasefire that we have to stop producing, that we have to stop helping Ukraine, that we have to stop being on the forefront of this, because that doesn't settle anything. That's just a temporary thing.
Exactly.
I'm actually curious, what's in the news, say in France, about all of this, right? Because 800 billion remilitarization budget was just approved, right? So that's a first step, and that does show that they're sort of looking in the right direction. So what's in the news about this ceasefire and this deal? Is anyone taking it seriously, or does everybody understand that this is just a duck, right? That we're
So I think there's a couple of things here. The 800 billion is on the European level, which is a welcome news, because that means that finally Europe is taking it seriously and trying to sort of have a collective efforts there. Now, and I wanted to dive into a few details here. The problem with having a collective money for an army or building a European army is that you have to entirely redo the European armies themselves. What kind of vehicles are you going to buy? Are you going to buy English? Are you going to buy Swedish? Are you going to buy, for the entire army to look the same? Artillery weapons, French people are really good at that. We saw with the Caesar cannon, stuff like that. Does that mean that every army in Europe will have Caesar cannons? It's a good question. So, there's the problem of the contracts and what kind of European army we want.
And
now,
it's also, I think, might be the problem of the scale of production that Europe really needs.
Yeah.
And to have enough production lines, to have enough plants, and it's a long process. Russia might be able to attack much earlier than Europe is ready for.
It's a long process because we have high quality. We still didn't get out of this sort of production thing, which is we have really high quality weapons in France, especially, the Rafale or whatever. We can produce, I think in my memory, 20 a year. These are really good planes, but they're very expensive. You need very skilled engineers to work on these planes and to build them up. Now, with the right amount of investment, obviously you can employ better engineers. Obviously you can relaunch it, but you need a group buyout. You need a lot of countries putting a lot of money on the tables to build, say, okay, not 20 but 200 planes per year.
Do you think that the EU might go to South Korea to buy weapons? Because technically South Korea has
Poland
the capacity.
is already doing it.
Yeah, so South Korea is the only country that has the capacity to substitute for the U.S. in terms of weapon production and stuff like that. We know that Europe is not going to be buying American weapons because that's investing into the American economy, which is something that then is not necessarily looking very, very fruitful right now. I don't know if you've seen how much the shares of Lockheed Martin fell, but most of the European countries canceled their contracts.
I think the main issue with buying American weapons right now is this sort of blackmail, so to speak, which is so a lot of even European weapons have American components in there. We have something called ITAR.
Yeah.
It's very specific, but basically these are guidance system and stuff like that. And the problem is that you may have a F-35, which is it's not. They're not going to. They don't have some. I was listening to some experts on that. They don't have an interrupter. A switch on, switch off. They don't have a kill switch. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But they can stop sending spare parts. They can stop sending maintenance parts. They can, put guidance system down, and that's a problem when you have a 100 million plus plane which is grounded on the because basically it won't fly because of the guidance system. It's a massive issue. So obviously it's not it's not a really good incentive for the EU to buy American. But when it comes to, and coming back to the ceasefire thing, it's a welcomed news actually on every level, which is kind of interesting, because when actually Trump stopped and Trump administration stopped the help to Ukraine, weirdly even far left and extreme right rallied behind Macron and said this is a scandal.
Yeah,
and that was the first time where you're
Le Pen said that, right?
And you're
it was what?
far right leaders saying Trump's methods are quote brutal. They're
Yeah.
Guys,
Okay.
that's a super interesting conversation, and I didn't want to interrupt it for so long, but the flow of the nation stopped, and I need to mention them. It helps the flow going. $50 from Jason Slobodyan, tickets for my nephews. I will be back in Ukraine, and I will see you soon. Героям слава, what can I say? Thank you, Jason, for $50 donation, and aid for Ukraine from Robert. Robert, I've said your name already. So RP Marson, that's the nickname. $40. Yep, thank you for your donation. So 240 raised, only 260 to get to the minimum goal. And of course, we can go to infinity and beyond after the minimum goal. Why not?
Let's raise $50,000.
Why not? I think, what? I also wanted to mention that we have some religion talk there in the chat, and Surfer Des is entering the chat. Hello, Surfer Des, and saying, "Oh, religion talk, focus, people, focus." Yeah, that Opal guy is actually, adding some gasoline to the fire of religion, actually, and keeping that talk up. I just don't know. Oh, hey, that Opal guy, where are you from? And what is it about the religion thing for you? Welcome everyone. Don't forget to like the stream.
So what's the religion?
I don't believe. I just know or don't know. I'm out of here. Hey, Surfer Des, why are you out of here? We're not talking about the religion. You can talk to us, you know. Well, Surfer Des is a roller. He's from Puerto Rico, by the way.
Oh.
And he was donating yesterday, guys. I remind you that this flag is on the raffle this week. Let's show it once again to remind people. Send tickets, send donations and buy tickets with your donations with it, with them. Oh my god, tickets, my brain is going wild. Buy tickets with those donations for this flag. One ticket is $10. You can buy as many of them as you want. We need at least $260 more today, so keep donating. Yulia, I interrupted you there. Keep going.
Well, no, all I was gonna say is that Marine Le Pen, like, rallying behind Macron sounds very similar to how Trump was trying to approach Ukrainian quote-unquote opposition in the form of, like, literal political corpses like Yulia Tymoshenko and our former president Poroshenko, and both of them came out and said, yeah, they tried to approach us, but we said no. And Poroshenko even made a speech saying that, like, you all expect me to shit on the president at the moment, but I'm not going to do that because I'm for the unity of the country and he's not a dictator. But it's, like, obviously a PR move as well. But how absolutely unaware of Ukrainian politics do you have to be to approach Yulia Tymoshenko to install her instead of Zelensky? First of all, no one would vote for her. I think, like, people would passionately vote against her because I would say confidently, like, more than 80% of the population of this country passionately despises her. And also, how bad do you have to be for, like, the two people that hate Zelensky the most in this universe to tell you to fuck off? Mm-hmm. Like, that must be...
I mean, in fairness, it also reminds me on the deep misunderstanding that the FSB / Putin had over Ukrainian politics. Mm-hmm. I don't remember in the very aftermath of the full-scale invasion how Putin basically had Yanukovych in Minsk and was planning to put Yanukovych back in Ukraine, and then Medvedchuk. It says a lot of not understanding Ukraine, you know, like...
And I mean, right...
Not understanding it, I guess, and that's good.
Well, I think they're both miscalculating, so Trump was trying to force Ukraine into surrender, force Ukraine into taking whatever conditions that they wanted through, like, you know, through letting Russia bombard us without air defense, because he literally said that. He was like, you know, I'm not going to give them air defense until they agree to peace talks. And it's forcing us into agreeing. And he did say that we're talking to opposition parties in Ukraine, people that would agree to conditions Zelensky won't. So the reason why both Putin and Trump really don't like Zelensky is because he's not a pushover. Like, he stands up to them and he's not scared of saying no to them. Because other leaders would be scared that Trump will stop giving air defense and they would just back off, right, and agree to his demands. And Zelensky is like, no, they don't like dealing with him because he's difficult, because he actually doesn't, like, back down in a way. And I think both Trump and Putin are miscalculating Ukraine and Ukrainian politics on that regard, as in they're like, oh, there is this opposition person, we're just going to install them because, I don't know, 10% of the Ukrainian population want elections. And it's like, no, I mean, we criticize our government because we have the right to, and we should. It's a democracy. We don't like a lot of their internal politics. Like, we want them to do better. Do we want to topple them? No, if we wanted to topple them, we would have toppled them without the US getting involved.
Also, if I may jump on that, like, as a French, I think there's a deep misunderstanding on how opposition works here. Because, like, in France we have, moderates, let's say Macron is moderate right, left, right, far left, far right. It's a very sort of classic European, Western European opposition kind of thing. It doesn't really, from my understanding, doesn't really work that way in Ukraine. You have, especially in the post-Maidan society, you have reformists, anti-reformists, and what they call opposition. And I'm not counting Poroshenko and Timoshenko into that. But what Russian propagandists are accusing Ukraine of, which is like, oh, you're shutting down opposition parties. No, we're shutting down pro-Russian parties.
Exactly.
And it would be like basically, if tomorrow there's a war against France, and the national rally is basically the fifth column, you're betraying the country.
Exactly.
You're considered
Yeah.
hostile to the very nation.
You know, shutting down a pro-Russian party, it's like shutting the branch of KGB in Ukraine, for fuck's sake. Just like shutting the Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine.
Yeah, totally.
People, and it's really hard to explain it to people all over the world who believe that Russian propaganda, that because, you know, without being here, without really digging deep into this story of how Russia operates, you cannot wrap your head around that the whole church might be the okay, you leave it? Okay. Okay, I'll remember this. Okay. So I just wanted to say that, you know, it's important to understand all of these complicated things. It's not like they're really complicated. No, they are simple. But the problem is they're not usual. It's not usual in the world that like a church in a country is an agency, not an agency, like an institution of the foreign country intelligence. Like the whole church structure, it's hundreds of thousands of people who are involved in that.
I agree with you, and again, in fairness, it's, I think when what we call the Tomos, which is the independence of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the separation of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church and the Moscow Patriarchate, I think it happened in 2018, 2019, something like that. Point being, it's very complicated. It's not only politics. Yeah, there's also very specific mass, very speaking in Ukrainian during mass and not in Russian, etc., etc. Those are not nerdy. Yeah, those are nerdy details, and you have to sort of have a very deep knowledge of Orthodox Church to understand why this separation happened. But also this independence of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church was, as you said, a political thing, because I mean literally the Kirill, which is the main guy at the head of the Russian Orthodox Church in Moscow, was literally a KGB agent.
Exactly.
He keeps being a KGB agent. I don't remember his nickname, but he had a very funny nickname.
Okay, the nickname I don't remember, but he's Kirill, and he's
Patriarch Kirill, and
he's Kirill Gundyaev. His last name is Gundyaev, and I don't know the nickname, but he is actually. He's a head of the contraband of cigarettes in Russia.
And he was groomed by the KGB, he was groomed by the FSB, and it's a well-known fact that the Russian Orthodox Church is the, let's say, propaganda arm of Putin. Also, they're laundering millions in money, which also helps when you have like a church helping you on that matter. But my point is that there were a lot of articles written about that, you know?
A lot what?
Written about the involvement of the Russian Orthodox Church into the KGB, into the FSB.
Yeah.
And when there was those raids, I remember writing, and I was still working for Kyiv Independent at the time, we wrote a lot about this thing. It's not hard to find an explanation on that. It's not hard to find. If you type Russian Orthodox Church, Ukraine raid, online, it's not hard to find the explanation behind. And the fact that this discourse keeps coming in on the table, despite having a lot of articles written about this thing, I mean, it's a bit problematic, you know? You have to sort of read through the headlines, because, like, it takes 10 seconds max to actually, you know, understand the situation.
You know, I think in this modern world of social media, like TikTok and what else do we have there? It's really hard to fight propaganda with truth, because it doesn't matter of how many articles you post. I mean, you write it, right? And what you scream, they scream their propaganda. They do that with the talking mouths all over the place, and it's only the matter of resources, the matter of money, how much they invest in it.
Overflowing the sort of
Exactly.
media space.
And to counter that, we need to also put billions of dollars into this, and it's unfortunately impossible considering that we live in a democracy, and and that freedom of speech that as a huge hypocrite Elon Musk is talking about.
Over here and over here.
Okay.
Less movement.
I think you raise an interesting issue with the freedom of speech kind of thing, because so we have, again, as a French, we have this problem these days. So really famous French, I want to call him oligarch. His name is Vincent Bolloré. He owns multiple channels. He made his money by exploiting African resources. You name it. He ticks all the boxes. And basically, he has a very far-right leaning, Christian conservative kind of agenda. And recently, he opened his doors on every one of his media to Ksenia Fedorova, who's incidentally the former president or head of Russia Today in France. So openly, pro-Russian, open, and under the guise, and his thing is like, under the guise of freedom of speech, he's basically selling Russian propaganda. And she wrote a book, and of course the book was published in the publishing house that is owned by Bolloré, and the book is called Banned. And basically complaining about freedom of speech while writing
Propaganda.
a book and publishing a book. That's not what I would call massive censorship here. So I agree there is this sort of very twisted idea that freedom of speech and freedom of press allows you to say anything. That is not how it works, first of all. And second of all, it has become this receptacle for Russian propaganda, basically destroying. I don't remember maybe it was Karl Popper or something like that wrote this quote about intolerance, and the fact, this theory about intolerance, that if you're tolerant to intolerance, you're gonna basically shoot yourself in the foot. So
Well, it's like kind of an interesting paradigm, right? Because, and I bring this up quite a lot, and I know that people are tired of comparisons with Hitler's Germany, right? But looking back, in this day and age, we understand why letting the Nazis speak on the radio, write books, and write articles is wrong, because it's malicious. It's freedom of speech, but it's intended to harm, right? And intended to spread really, really, really bad narratives that are destructive and that are divisive and that are bad. But same, when we look at the same thing today with Russia, the understanding is not the same, right? Because, but it's censorship. But this is bad. Russians are people too. But they're just people. And it's kind of like I'm seeing the same thing in the United States today, and I say this with so much responsibility and so much pain too, where the people are starting to turn into that same mass, right? Where it's not us, it's our government. We can't do anything about this. Media is being censored, and they're just kind of laughing at it laughing over it on SNL. And Americans are kind of protesting a little bit, but it's the same type of thing. Everyone's letting Trump lie. Trump sits there and he says things like, we gave Ukraine $350 billion, or you name it, COVID is a hoax. And no one's taking him off air. People are making fun of him, and they're writing these satirical articles about him, but that's not, he should be shut off from worldwide media.
Exactly.
That's a very, that's a really interesting point you raise, because when you look at how censorship happened in Russia and how Putin actually rose to power, it didn't went out with a bang. It started really slow. It started actually with authorities shutting down some independent TV channels and no one protesting, because we have other media. We have other media. It's fine. Someone else will do the job. Someone else will protest.
Yeah,
and it's a very slippery slope. And then you had the bombing in '99, justifying the second invasion of Chechnya. Like, oh, these are terrorists, and we know now that it was orchestrated by I think at the time it was still FSB or KGB, I don't remember. We know that it was orchestrated, and there was no pushback.
Guys, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to answer some questions in the chat. What kind of hangout is this? We're in Ukraine. We're in Kyiv. We're, talking about Russian propaganda. We're talking about.
It's a very great oatmeal cookie hangout.
We're talking about that freedom of speech, as Elon Musk and people like him call it, and they actually using that as an excuse to just shut down the truth, actually behind that. So it's very crippled way. It's like what some famous politician once said in history. That phrase is famous. The fascists of the future will be calling themselves anti-fascists. So that is basically what Elon Musk and Trump are doing. I had a question. Is this Yulia? Yes, Hooves. This is Yulia. Yulia actually inspired me to dub those interviews with Russian POWs, and I have an announcement. I created a link today for the next dub. I haven't been launching one in 7 months, 7 months. I made a huge pause. I did not have time to get back to it. Now I have the assistant. I am finally delegating some of the tasks, and I'm finding the time. And
yours truly is going to be a Russian POW's mother, or voicing the Russian POW's mother.
Yulia is helping me with the dubbing of the female lines, right? Since the very beginning, since the second interview, because in the first one, in the second one there was also no female voice. So the third one, Yulia is helping me with it from the third one, and she actually inspired me to do so. So I went to her and I asked her, Yulia, look, I've seen your interview with the soldier from Azov. Once again?
Tork.
With Tork, yeah. And there was a dub in there. So it's logical that I ask you to help me with that. And she agreed, and that's how basically our small partnership and friendship started. Pretty cool, Yulia. We've been doing this for 2 years now.
Yeah,
can you imagine? We know each other for about 2 years.
I met you in person the first time when I moved to Kyiv. But to be fair, what I do for your dubbing is not nearly as serious as what Matt, my friend from the US, who is a professional voiceover actor actually, and he donated his voice to do the dubbing of the 4-hour 4-part Torque interview. And it was very funny because Matt, he reads erotic audiobooks. That's his literal job. He's won some awards for reading erotica, or voicing over erotica. And when he was voicing Torque in the beginning, there was so much emotion and there was so much expression, and I was like, okay, Matt, I need you to tone that down times 100, and I just need you to stare at a wall and blankly speak to the camera. So
be more Slavic, please.
Yeah, but also Torque in general is the type of person who kind of speaks I almost lost my leg, and there were 300 Russian snipers kind of shooting at me, but yeah, I survived. This type of thing. So I was like, you need to do that.
Most of the soldiers are like that. It's just, it's a defensive mechanism of your brain when you need to turn off all the emotions, considering you're, losing a limb or being heavily injured or being in captivity, tortured, starved. They deal with it. But I had once, actually, twice, 3 times on the stream, 2 times on Free Azov, but once he was a reconnaissance guy in Azov. Right now he's injured. His call sign is Mangust, or Mongoose in English. He went through Azovstal defense, he went through captivity, and he was sitting on my stream and we were talking about going through rehabilitation, and he was sharing his experience, and he told us how he went through therapy and actually learned to feel the emotions. He always thought he's a tough guy. He is not allowed to cry or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he found out, and he actually embraced it, that he can do that, and it will help him. So he told us that he shared some really like sensitive, stuff that not that many soldiers would like to share and would really like to embrace that.
That's really nice.
Like kind of, as some may say, weak part of them, but it's actually what makes them strong.
Yeah.
And he told me that he realized, also thanks to the therapy, that only strong men cry. That's what.
Well, I mean, in fairness, I know I say in fairness a lot. I should stop that. It's a very
to be
it's very
fair.
parasite
On
word.
on our new podcast, Masha wants to introduce a segment where it's a to
Parasite
be fair
words?
count.
Okay.
Because I say to be fair in every sentence.
So yeah, that was it.
Advertise your channel, but we're interrupting Alex here.
I'll just quickly jump on this topic. And I think maybe this war is a game changer on the matter of psychotherapy and the matter of psychology. There is this really interesting, heartbreaking Ukrainian movie called Diagnosis Descent on Netflix. Actually, some people can watch it. I think it's still on Netflix right now. On how it's in the 70s, on how USSR used brutal psychotherapy to crush down any kind of dissidents and any kind of this one, Diagnosis Descent. It's a brutal movie, but and the guy is not really even resisting much. He's just a crazy kind of musician who likes to listen to rock and roll, but he's basically being destroyed for that. Where I'm going with that is that this constant use of psychotherapy, so-called psychotherapy, torture under the guise of psychotherapy, was
Psychiatry, probably.
Psychiatry.
Of those years.
Psychiatry.
What years are they?
70s, 60s, 70s. Was a systematic, and it's still being used in Russia today, a systematic mechanism to crush people's will. It still happens today. And I think there is this sort of taboo in post-USSR societies, and this fear of psychiatry, of going to a psychiatrist, because there is this a generational trauma over that. Plus, added to, as you said, this idea of masculine side. If I cry, I'm weak, and I can't show I'm weak because I'm also a family man, I'm a dad, etc., etc. I mean, those multiple layers don't really necessarily help soldiers to open themselves. But the very fact that, of course, they come back with PTSD, they come back with a lot of trauma, and they need to sort of rebuild themselves, I believe and I feel like it's changing the perception that Ukrainians at least have about not psychiatry, but psychotherapy and the benefits of that.
For sure. I mean, when I was growing up, it's psychology and psychiatry were the same thing. And if you had any sort of mental issues in general, it would be you're psychotic. So you wouldn't be treated. You'd be sent, we have in Lviv, for instance, Kulparkivska, and that's mental, literally a mental asylum. And that's where you would end up if you had any sort of dissociative disorders or any sort of neurodivergencies or anything like that. And there was a huge stigma, and there's still quite a bit of stigma, and that was definitely made by the USSR. It's actually a great observation.
Guys, there's a comment from that Opal guy, and chat convinced me that he is totally okay, and that religion talk was his response to someone. He says, it's nice to see a stream actually engage in chat. Many do not. And I feel like we're not engaging in it at all. We're talking among each other. For that, I would ask you to open it on your phones and also follow the chat, because it's not enough. One person is not enough to follow the messages and reply. If you guys are okay with that, go on YouTube. Do you have a YouTube app on the phone? Yeah. Now find my channel, Reg the Ukrainian.
I like this very just looking at ourselves this,
Narcissism Central.
Yeah, but we're doing it for the sake of engagement with publicity. This one?
Okay.
So here we are.
It's very strange.
And please read the chat. Don't look at us. Read the chat and engage with the
okay,
public.
so
But yeah, you.
My very ADHD self has been wanting to say this for the past 10 minutes, but when you were talking about societies not plunging into tyrannical chaos immediately, actually, in the beginning of The Handmaid's Tale, one of the...
I love that TV show.
Yeah, one of the things...
I mean, it's horrible and horrifying, but
one of the things that was said is basically like, if you are being thrown into a bath of boiling water, you're gonna jump out immediately because you know you're gonna burn in it. But if you get into like a normal temperature like if you get into normal temperature water in the bath and someone keeps turning it up and turning it up and turning it up, one by one, you're not going to notice how you're gonna boil alive. So that's the whole thing with like tyrannies, right? Is they don't just take over control immediately. They start one by one. And when you said about Chechnya and about like the bombings and stuff, one of the biggest, one of the easiest ways to convince a population to give up their rights for safety is to create a false flag attack. Because if someone were to seize power and start like relinquishing the constitution or like imposing full control or something like that, you would start rebelling because yesterday you had all the rights and today you don't. But if they say it's in the name of your safety, then you're a lot more likely to relinquish the Constitution and all of your freedoms in order to achieve safety, right? So after 9/11, there was the Patriot Act, where like there was a lot more surveillance on the American people, and they were okay with it because there was just a terrorist attack, and it was done actually at that point was done in the name of safety, right? Mm-hmm. But now, if Trump there is like this rumor that like he might want to heat up the atmosphere in the United States in order to install martial law. Mm-hmm. And if that were the case, then that would be one of the most major tyrannical moves, because you basically do something specifically to heat up the population, to let them to basically make them give up their rights.
Yeah,
so you're not even taking them away by force.
Exactly.
They're consenting to it.
Exactly. And that's what happened in Russia too, right? I wanted to mention 2 donations. First one, $100 from Amonsky for what is needed. Thank you, Amonsky. And Amonsky never takes any tickets, so tickets for you rollers. Yeah, a lot of people are sharing their tickets. They like the items, but they don't want anything for them, so they are just giving it away. And people can give ++ in the chat and get the free tickets, but only on Sundays mostly. Let's show the flag once again. Guys, I encourage you to send donation and buy tickets for this flag. Yes, we're raffling it this week. 1 ticket is $10. You can buy as many of them as you want. And this is the flag from Chimera unit. They are a drone unit from the Steel Border Brigade. It's a border guard brigade. And we're helping them constantly, and they are super grateful, and they are thanking my best friend for actually acquainting me with them because them guys, or them with me, yeah. You're awesome, and you are loved by Chimera, believe me. They send this flag as a gratitude, and you have the chance to get it. So 2 more donations actually. Dark Oblation, tickets for Silver Earth, please, $20. Thank you very much, and thank you for those 5 gifted memberships. I noticed them. $25 from Tambria Moore. Actually, Tambria, I think your name is like the full name as your username there, so I can tell the whole name. $25 donation. Thank you. Would you like 2 tickets? I think you would. And that means we raised $385, and it's only 115 left to get to the minimum goal. So let's do it. Easy peasy. For this community, no problem at all.
I apologize for chewing. I haven't had breakfast and I just realized.
Same shit. I was chewing there in the beginning, so no problem.
For you.
For you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's.
That one's
It's fine. Otherwise, I'll be chewing too. I'm just checking the chat too.
That Opal guy says should find a different platform than PayPal. Honestly, I understand. The problem is it's the most popular, and it's the easiest way for me to receive money as donations, because like we have different complications with different platforms,
sanctions and whatnot.
Yeah, and it just discourages people to donate. So
maybe we can explain to them why it's complicated, because basically, if I may,
of course,
in the sense that basically some part of Ukraine are unfortunately now considered under Russian regime, under Russian control, and that means that some oblasts and some donations cannot really necessarily go there. I mean, banks are not working and whatnot. I mean, I personally have a French bank, and somehow it was hard for them to understand that no, the entire country is not at war. Yes, we can do transfers and whatnot because, I live in Kiev. And yeah, sometimes some donations don't really work in certain oblasts and whatnot. And I remember maybe Pioneer and maybe PayPal also at the beginning had issues with certain areas, working certain areas. So that's why also it's complicated law on the matter of law.
When I first came to Ukraine, and that was a year into the invasion, Revolut didn't work in Ukraine at all because they couldn't separate geographically because you have to connect cell service to it, so to see where the towers are being basically.
Amonsky said, Rick, instead of tickets, you maybe listen to Sabaton. Okay, Sabaton is a band, right? Amonsky. Alex knows.
Yes.
Good. Because I hear about this one for the first time. He says you can listen to that one, but it says Time of War, right? But it is called Lifetime of War. I just checked. I found only the song that is called Life of War, so... okay. I'm looking for your message, Amonsky. Sorry, I lost it. But I will find it now. No problem. Yeah, found it. So, Lifetime of War. Oh no, you actually said everything correctly. Okay, I will listen to it and put it in the beginning of the stream if you want. Yeah, if I like it, of course. Thank you. $10 donation from Kane Case GG. Thank you. $10. Then Andreas Lach, $10. Much love to Yulia and Alex. Much love to you guys. Thank you, said Yulia. Yeah, the microphone was pretty.
I'm a bit confused where to what.
Yeah. So we raised. That means we raised $405. Only 95 left to get to the minimum goal. Let's do it, guys. Easy peasy. What do we have there? Maybe some questions in the chat. Buy Me a Coffee was great till they shitted on Ukraine. Yeah, they did that, and I left Buy Me a Coffee completely. I don't know.
I never used it. No, I mean I see it from time to time, like on Twitter and whatnot, but I never.
I did not know what happened with Buy Me a Coffee.
Basically, they obviously have the Russian lobby.
I'm close to Rick's.
That's alright.
Okay, obviously they have the Russian lobby, and of course we cannot prove that, but they started being
Russian lobby.
tough on Ukraine, and they started...
what is Russian lobby?
It's when they have some investors, Russian investors, that tell them what to do
I see.
with Ukrainians and how to behave
Russian
towards
lobbyists.
Ukrainians.
Okay.
Lobbyists, probably. I cannot say Russian lobby in English?
I don't know.
I think there's an interesting question here about the use of, like, I think it's RARA4 mushrooms and low-dose MDMA therapy for severe PTSD has proven good. That's an interesting remark. There's one doctor, his name is Malyarevsky, here in Ukraine, and he's basically using microdosing of very, very microdosing of MDMA, actually, on soldiers. Why it's interesting? So it's obviously very controlled. They're in a quiet environment. They have 2 to 3, maximum 4 sessions in a very, like, relaxed sort of place, like cocoon-like place. And why it's interesting, because basically it stops Ukrainian soldiers from having addiction behind. Usually, like what you tend to react with PTSD, you tend to cope with addictions, whether it be alcohol, weed, you name it. And that kind of thing sort of is efficient enough so they don't get addicted, and it's definitely something that Ukrainian psychiatrists are looking into. Unfortunately, it takes a war to test that kind of thing, but yeah, that kind of thing is apparently working.
But it is a very interesting and very forward technology sort of thing. I like that because it means that Ukraine is developing at like a faster rate than I would even think in psychology and psychotherapy. Because in the United States, microdosing therapy for depression is still kind of frowned upon, and the fact that here it's kind of gaining traction is really good, because that's, I personally, I don't partake in hallucinogenic drugs. I wish they lasted 10 minutes, but 8 hours I cannot. I can't make that commitment. So
that's not very.
Well, I just
handy.
know that like 20 minutes into it, I'll be like, get me out of here. Anyways, and that's just a recipe for disaster. But like I do. I actually have a friend who is from Los Angeles, and he was like severely depressed, and he's tried therapy, he's tried like all types of antidepressants. Literally nothing was helping. And I mean, like, I know him since freshman year of college, and he was always like, it was a very touch and go. And he's been doing the microdosing therapy with acid, I think, for a little while, and it's been 2.5-3 years, and he's been okay consistently. So that's the only thing that helps. So I do believe that it does help if it's in a controlled environment. It's good that there is a controlled environment, because people will seek out these methods by themselves from a non-controlled environment, and then that turns into a problem.
Okay.
Rick is like, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I have nothing to say here. I'll just say okay. I mean, I was lucky to grow up in I don't know, like a full loving family. Of course, my parents had their own things, that.
So you didn't sniff shoe glue.
But yeah, but it didn't fuck me up, luckily, I didn't get out traumatized from my childhood too much. Of course, there are some traumas always, but I was happy. This is why I'm happily mostly not depressed for most of my life. There was a period or two periods where I had some kind of a close to depression, but I was able always to get out of it myself. Like, I didn't need any medicine, and at 2 or 3 cases I did not need therapy. So I'm lucky, really, because I see I look at some of my friends and I understand that I was lucky, because depression is a thing, and it can really, you can really sometimes cannot do anything about it, and it is just.
Our society is also like very uneducated about what depression is, because they think that if you're smiling one day, or like you have a good day, you can't be depressed, or depression to them is something out of movies, and I mean like older movies, right? To most of our society, because we weren't taught on what that looks like. And in reality, depression is touch and go, right? It's like some days are good days and some days are bad days. It's just that it's very all-encompassing. But,
Man Agarwal, Heroям Slava. A typical depression presents with mood reactivity.
There's a lot of different.
Who says what?
The United 24. I see. I think Elvin Archer. I remember a report from United 24 from Hromadske with a defender called Fungi.
Yeah, tell us more about your work.
Okay,
Alex.
it wasn't for United 24, that's for sure, because this is not necessarily something
But
the state. But I work for United 24.
United 24.
I'm pretty sure the paper was in Hromadske. So I work for United 24 on the front line, and also back to engaging with
the chat.
There's
Thank you.
Some person saying like basically PTSD can be healed, or like EMDR can help PTSD. I do EMDR, especially when I have sometimes panic attacks. It works really well. It's basically a way to balance, like some exercise to balance your brain.
The only problem with using it for treating soldiers is most of them who has Okoboro trauma, and most of the soldiers has that. They cannot do that eye movement.
Exactly. So the eye movement is necessarily easy for soldiers, but it raises another topic, because it's also one of you told about this psychological help and the need for fundraising for psychological help. This is a nation, I believe, that is. I don't remember the statistics, but I think at least half of the population has mild PTSD. I don't count even soldiers, and it's already an issue, and it will be an issue on the kind of funds we put So there is physical rehabilitation, yeah, but psychological rehabilitation is very important too, because you don't want to have soldiers who are ticking time bombs in the streets, who basically know how to fight, have access to weapons, and who basically can switch. So this is something that some officials are taking care of here in Ukraine, but unfortunately still underfunded. And obviously, we're raising money for soldiers and for the fight, but there's also after the fight, and that's also an important topic, I believe, of taking care of this psychologically wounded population, which are the veterans coming back, and they need infrastructure and specialized doctors too, because soldiers won't necessarily speak to civilians. They are more eager to speak to someone who saw War II, who eager to speak to a medic, and that kind of thing, to create this kind of bond. And this, I think, is going to be a very important topic, especially in Ukraine for the next. It's already an important topic.
It's already a challenge for us, and it's going to be even a bigger challenge because a lot of soldiers are on the front line right now, and they are not coming to the rear often. But after the end of this war, no matter what the end is going to be, it can be much bigger challenge, And it's a very important topic. It really demands a huge number of not just specialists who are trained, who know what to do and how to deal with it. But the problem is the studies are not that developed. The problem is we don't have the methods to deal with it, and we still need to do a lot of research.
So one of the things that I was saying Ukraine really needs is that, so I studied psychology in the US, and I studied like a very specific branch of psychology. Yeah.
There's people in the chat, and I'm telling them like, hello. Paul D. Fella just joined, said hi guys.
Hi Paul.
Like, so I'm showing this. Do you know this site?
Yeah.
So I added something to it, and I say live long, prosper, and donate. So we also have the patch on the fundraising campaign right now, and let me show it to you. Oh, not like that, but like that. I want to show it to both of you because it's important to mention that campaign for us to raise some funds for it today. Maybe also, I don't know. Guys, are you ready to also donate to the one? So it has this patch now.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Live long, prosper, and donate with the...
So okay.
We made that patch. Yulia, since it's easier for you to get out there, can you show it on the for people, guys? You can get this patch by donating to the second link in the description of this stream. You can donate over 100 euros. Unfortunately, this patch can be obtained only with the sum of 100 euros or more. But if you don't have the means to get it, if you don't have the means to donate that much, you can go to our Discord community server, and we have the section there that is called Rollers Fund Rollers. So the members of our community, Yulia, can you scroll right to next to this patch? There is another site. There are two more patches. Yeah, this one where Great Britain stands with Ukraine, and we're marching together to victory. So you can also get that patch, and there's also an owl. We're doing this campaign together with ATP Geopolitics, a friendly pro-Ukrainian channel. You know him, yes, of course. Jonathan Pierce, a great guy. He's a Tipolin philosopher. Yes, he's a philosopher. He's written several books on philosophy, and he has that owl as as a symbol, a mascot of his community. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome campaign, guys. Our goal there is 78,000 euros. So we're on 29 right now. That means we still need to raise a shitload of money. So please go and donate to that campaign. We really need your help. We're on 29,056 euros. Guys, can we get to 30,000 today? I think it's totally doable. Why not?
Are we already at $500 that you were raising?
No, we're not.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
one step
it
at a time.
stopped. Andreas was the last one to donate 13 minutes ago. Guys, for 13 minutes, not a single donation on my PayPal. Let's fix that. The PayPal is on the at the top. Come on, only $95 left to get to... No, left to raise to get to $500.
Before I do another small bladder bathroom break, I was just going to say that one of the things that Ukraine does need, and I've talked about it a million times, but I don't necessarily know who to speak to on like a higher level about this, but I studied psych in the US and I have quite a few connections that are therapists, right? And a lot of them are military therapists now. And anyways, like when you graduated at school and with a degree in psychology, you have a network of those people, right? And what Ukraine does really need is we have this program where if you were in captivity or you were just like a soldier who retired, the government basically forces you to go to university and they pay for it. And most of the soldiers choose fuck off degrees like Ukrainian literature or like, I don't know, things like that, like easy stuff, right? And what I think they should encourage them to do, especially those that have lost a limb or will have a harder time finding work, right? Is encourage them to study psychology and become military therapists, because these are the people you can relate to who have been in combat and the government is paying for it. But we need programs that train those military therapists, because in the US, for instance, most of the therapists in the military are former military.
But it raises the question of like, do you want to face your trauma? Because like, if you're going to study psychology and whatnot, that means that you're strong enough, or psychotherapy, you're strong enough to face your trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Or sometimes mature enough emotionally.
Yeah, which is not necessarily the case for everyone. I mean, it does demand a lot of strength.
Of course, but you still you have to go to therapy yourself. But in a lot of like studies, actually, it's been found to be beneficial for former military servicemen, because when they retire from service, they don't necessarily know how to live a normal life anymore, or like a regular civilian life. So they won't be back with their boys or with their girls on in a military environment. So that way they're still at the base, they're still in the military, so they're still in the same environment, but they're not doing anything that's dangerous to their life. And it helps you work through these things when you talk about them with people who understand them, both on the side of a traumatized person and the person counseling for trauma. So it's actually pretty beneficial, interestingly.
I wanted to make you a bit happier before you go. Frank V donated $50 again, saying 5 more tickets. Thank you,
awesome. And then
Frank. We have Phil H. Thank you very much. $20. 2 tickets for flag, please. Rick, thank you very much.
95 minus
70. Only 25 left, but that's the minimum goal, guys. We can go over it, of course. And just now, 30 more bucks. Yeah, we've done 505 now, so
nice.
We
Very nice.
crossed the minimum goal.
Guys.
Let's get to 700 now, guys. Come on, just 195 more to raise. Because the last donation on $30 was from Wizard of Oz. Donating is therapy too. Good. I like the statement.
It works.
It is. It's not advanced method of therapy, to be honest, because when you're looking inside yourself and really trying to figure out how your brain function, how your behavior patterns work, and how you can actually break them to make your life of a better quality. It is hard. It is hard, and you really need to want to do it, because psychotherapy is not about someone helping you.
It's like you helping yourself.
Yeah,
basically.
so it's helping yourself primarily, and therapist is just like a mirror for you. A good therapist will be a mirror for a person. Are you doing psychotherapy yourself? I mean, like going to psychotherapy?
So as I said, personally, I had so I often work on the front line, and I had obviously not like soldiers, but I had fair share of stuff I didn't necessarily want to see. Especially attacks on civilians, cluster munitions, it's kind of thing
it
that
traumatizes
kind of, it kind of stays in your mind.
Yeah.
And I basically started having like panic attacks. It was a while ago. I started having panic attacks. You know, and when you have this moment when you feel more comfortable on the front line than when you feel in the rear, that is a moment when you kind of ask you to have yourself, okay, just chill a little bit. And I had a couple of bad experience on that matter. So I started, as I said, like doing some EMDR, and I have this. So again, being French, I think it's always better to have a psychotherapist that speaks your native language.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it
best.
relies to your subconscious more easily. And I have this psychotherapist that I work with on Skype, so we don't necessarily need to,
be in a room.
be in a room together, and it really helped me. She really helped me, acquire those sort of breathing techniques, sort of, especially when you feel that you're gonna have a panic attack because you kind of see it coming at one point. It really helped me. Now, did it solve a lot like other issues and whatnot? No, it was more like dealing with the, let's say, direct consequences of panic, especially when you're working in, let's say, high risk environment. You don't want to be you don't want to freeze. You want to be able to react.
Yeah.
And if you have panic attacks when you need to run, you're fucked. So just to be the most efficient as possible, you need to have the machine running okay, so to speak.
I totally agree. And one more donation to mention, Wella, $30, thank you very much, saying, tickets for Chimera Flag, please. Great stream, great guests. I agree. Thank you guys
thank
for being
you.
great guests. Yulia?
There are two. So Cheryl says EMDR never did a thing for me. I couldn't relate to it at all. But hypnotherapy was nice. You're like so on time here today. They're mentioning so many things that you could actually speak on because you were just talking to someone about hypnotherapy the other day.
Yeah. It's a French friend, and basically he, how hard it is for French people to stop smoking. I mean, it's literally our.
It's a national trait. Yeah.
Like it's like we were born with a cigarette and a glass of wine.
I thought it doesn't have anything to do with nation.
No.
You know that
The
Ukrainians
smoking-
smoke like crazy.
The French
Not
people.
anymore. I
The
think
French people were definitely like heavy smokers, and he basically was explaining to me that he managed to stop smoking through hypnotherapy, like just one session of hypnosis, and somehow. I mean, it's one sense of hypnosis, and then like every day you have to, for months you have to listen to the same kind of soundtrack. But yeah, and like I was smoking near him, he didn't feel the need to smoke. He didn't feel like the frustration of not smoking. I was like, yeah, you can, smoke nearby. And I think that's really interesting. I don't know how much of control I would give to a total stranger over hypnosis and stuff like that, but that's a whole different thing. But apparently it works. But yeah, I mean, on that note, I'm gonna have a smoke. It just makes me
Yulia, it seems like you're gonna be the host now, so you gotta take the phone and read the chat because I need to take a bedroom break.
Oh my God. Okay. Fine.
guys,
Sure.
I actually
You leave me alone
have a
here.
great motivation for you if you want to support Yulia as a host for the next 5 minutes or maybe less than that. Send a donation and let's get to $700 because we're on 535 now. The next goal is 700, so that means only 165 left. Come on, guys, you can do it. Thank you, Yulia. You gotta get to the center, probably.
I also think we might only have time till like 8:30 because we both have a lot of work to finish today, and I still need to do a bunch of stuff for my podcast, which I recently launched with my friend Masha from Kyiv Independent, and the podcast is called Unmasking Pod. You can find it on Spotify.
Awesome.
On
That's
Apple.
actually a perfect moment to advertise
Yeah, exactly. I have a mic. I can do two, but like.
I'm not taking this one with me.
No, okay. Yeah, please don't. But yeah, me and my friend Masha from Kyiv Independent, we launched a podcast, and it's very well. I think it's very interesting. I mean, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but basically we noticed that most of the war is covered through a male gaze, which is understandable because it's a lot of frontline stuff, and of course 70% of people in the military are men, and also it's kind of Yeah, come. Well, I was talking about my podcast that I don't even think you've listened to yet.
Not yet. Shame on me.
Not yet, or not ever. But yeah. So the podcast is told through it's supposed to cover the war and the politics of it all, and personal stories, and kind of humanize the experience of living through war, not just through journalism, but through everyday annoyances and everyday life and everyday things of people in their 20s and 30s who are supposed to live in what misogynists call their prime. But really, it's your young years, you're spending sort of under bombing and under all of this stuff, and how that's navigated. And it's mostly through female gaze, because obviously me and Masha, but we're also going to have guests at some point, so you might catch Alex there as well.
Maybe. We'll see if I'm invited. Is that a formal invitation? If that's a formal invitation,
you have been invited. You have been invited way back when, but it's we don't have the capacity to have a guest yet. But yeah, I've seen your podcast. I like it. Oh, thank you. Rick took the mic with him to the toilet once. It was an epic stream. Yeah, I remember that actually. Oh my gosh, Martin. Well, there is a second episode now, and there's going to be a third one today. Rick has built a wonderful community. Yes, he has, and now let's gossip about him while he's gone.
So yeah, I was just checking the news. So apparently, U.S. delegation is on the way to Moscow right now.
Oh, fantastic!
To discuss with our dear friend Vlad. I don't know. What do we think about it? Do we think that the master of the art of the deal will,
Well, there's really only two solutions here, right? One is Moscow says "fuck you" and puts out conditions that are impossible to reach because they're so obscene that Ukraine will never agree to them, or they agree to the ceasefire and violate it within a week.
I think maybe it was Bloomberg or whatnot that basically said that potentially. This one source to media told that one of the conditions that Moscow could put was for the U.S. to stop sending weapons to Ukraine, which is not. No, I don't think it's viable. That or it might be the same usual kind of thing, which is quote. The same kind of condition during the bullshit Istanbul, Accord, which is. Demilitarization with big air quotes, denazification, i.e. putting a pro-Russian regime at the head of Ukraine. What was the other one? Reduction of the Ukrainian army, and of course cession of territories that Russia doesn't control yet, because every time they have these talks, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to take Zaporizhia. You guys don't control Zaporizhia Oblast or Kherson or the entirety of the Oblast, but they don't control it. So those maximalist demands. It's a bit worrying because
with the previous administration,
and Trump tends to do this, which is Trump tends to be very maximalist too. So the question would be is his delegation also that maximalist to sort of launch a completely outrageous idea and say okay, we're going to run with it and see all the reactions around. You know what I mean? It's just...
But I think it's also, this entire talk and, the U.S. delegation talking to the Russian delegation might also kind of be the Trojan horse for Europe, from Ukraine for Europe, because, we can't trust either of them, really. And it's Marco Rubio is part of the delegation. He's...
It's a bit weak.
Well, he's a person who used to shit on Donald Trump every opportunity he has, and basically...
Vance did too.
Yeah, and basically talk about how he's a tyrant and anti-democratic, and now he's just kissing his feet. So, and talking about all these crazy MAGA things, right? So we don't know if they're going to be negotiating in good faith, or if they're just going to go there and, take everything that Russia says at face value.
I think there's an interesting... It's Amarsky, yes, who says, I think one of the conditions already happening, Ukraine moving out of Kursk. I personally, that's my analysis, I personally don't think it was one of the conditions in the sense that Ukraine was already in a tough spot in January in Kursk. And it was a question of weeks, if not months, if not weeks, before Ukraine would leave Kursk. So I don't think it's linked to that. Plus, Ukraine never really had leverage over Russia with Kursk, anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The problem is, unfortunately, Ukraine was not capable to widen the territory to get more routes, to get the logistics in, to get the supplies in, and to really supply the Ukrainian forces there in Kursk Oblast properly. And the situation was getting worse with every week and every month. Russians were gaining the very important piece of territory in Darino there from the western side of the Kursk Oblast group. No, not group, but okay, you got it. The territory controlled by Ukrainians. They captured that one back in November. So it started back then December, January, February, and it's just like bit by bit that thing was approaching. And unfortunately, I think definitely our forces were trying to reduce the influence of that, but we just didn't manage to do so because it was. There are too many problems. Logistics is also a part of. Still us doing too many mistakes with the defense and the defense lines of building them properly. Russians are much better in that, unfortunately. We must be honest, and we need to learn more. Yeah.
Cheryl says, I think Kursk was initially about proving you could attack Russia without getting nuked.
Exactly.
That's a good
making
point.
a precedent. It's really entering Russian territory.
But I mean, also in fairness, Ukraine was already. Do I get 1 point each time I say in fairness?
Actually, don't.
Can we get a $1 donation every time he says in fairness?
Okay, guys, you have 15 minutes. They told me we need to finish the stream in 15 minutes. So, guys, before...
just finish that. It wasn't the first time that Ukraine attacked Russia, because Ukraine was also constantly attacking oil depot in Russia and wasn't getting nuked. I mean, when Ukraine... I don't remember exactly what the first time where everybody was freaking out because some Russian territory was attacked. And the nukes never happened, and that's at that point, and I think it was in 2022, and it was at that point where people, Western countries and whatnot should have been the so-called red lines are actually drawn in the sand, and Putin is literally the richest man of Russia. He has mansions and castles everywhere in Russia. Do you really think he's gonna be willing, even though he had just hopefully doesn't have much to leave? He will sacrifice all the wealth that he amassed all this time just for the sake of a nuclear statement?
He won't. He loves. He's
also a narcissist. Narcissists don't want to destroy their country or themselves. They want to.
Oh, their country, they don't mind.
I'm not giving it to you. I'm just holding it closer to your mouth so people could hear you.
But basically, narcissists. I've been saying this from the very beginning. It's narcissists are not interested in blowing up the world. They're interested in taking it over because they love themselves too much to sort of end their life like that, right?
Yep. Guys, you have the last 14 minutes to send donations for our ongoing fundraiser for the car, for the 3rd Assault Brigade. The guy, the soldier's call sign for whom we raise funds is Talib.
Oh, interesting.
And do you know why he was given that call sign? It's not like he likes Taliban or something. He just had beard, and his brother-in-arms started calling him like that back in 2015 or something.
No, there is also it's a nationality too. My aunt's ex-boyfriend from when she was 18 years old, she's 39 now. His nickname among their artsy friends was Talib as well because of the beard. Mm-hmm. But it's a nationality, and they're apparently characterized by dark hair and very long dark hair and beards.
So that guy. He's now a commander of the unit of the drone unit, and they called that unit after him Taliban. It's not such a good idea.
I think just to jump on the drone thing because we don't have much time. Yeah, maybe some people in the community are interested first.
Can you grab that?
Okay.
That
there you go.
And let's cover Yulia with it. So guys, Death from the Sky, Chimera, they all signed it here on this side, all 10 of them, and they've put some awesome text. So you have the chance to get this one. Send a donation, buy tickets. One ticket is $10. You can buy as many of them as you want. Thank you. You have the last 12 minutes to send a donation, and we finish the stream then. And if you want and have the means to buy some memberships for other rollers, that will be also very appreciated and welcome. Thank you, Alex. Please continue.
Yeah. So I was just talking about the drones because, like, it has, of course, become the fixture of this war. I mean, right now the war is basically fought between artillery, drones, and ground forces. Let's say assault teams, and maybe like through donations and whatnot. I think it's interesting on how, first of all, there was this grassroots movement to help Ukrainians fundraise money for drones, and how also it helped Ukraine sort of, I wouldn't say change the tide, but at least hold the line against weapons that were way more efficient. And when you see those like what we call the Dragon drones, which is basically not thermite, but like molten drones, like that burns everything. Like there was a lot of images on that. The vampire drones, the Baba Yaga and stuff like that. I think here Ukraine definitely changed the course of future wars for a long time, and it's actually quite impressive. That's like while we were speaking about the drones, and the fact that you guys can actually be part of this effort. I think it's I think it's interesting.
Also, I don't know how, but apparently I convinced someone
To her.
So I don't know how, but apparently I convinced MVS to donate
Yes, I just
$800 to NAFO while
did.
Rick was away. But I didn't do anything.
Well, thank you, Yulia. MVS put that comment. Actually, $800 is 729 euros these days, and 8 cents. Rollers stand with Ukraine to victory. Thank to all Ukrainians for defending freedom and all of us in the free world. To see you stabbed in the back is so hard. I am so sorry. The rest of us will step up. This donation is partly financed by cancelled US-based services. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava. What do you mean by that? Like financed by US-based services? Cancelled US-based services? Yeah, Martin, let us know. Thank you for that donation. That's impressive, guys. On NAFO fundraiser, NAFO truck fundraiser, we need to raise only €215 to get to 30,000. Come on, you can do it. That's the second link in the description.
That they donated to.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
So he's a blonde soldier who used to do like Instagram reels and TikToks.
Thank you. I think
from like the front line. Yeah, he's Rick's very good friend, and this is
I remember his face.
This campaign is together with him. Yeah. ATP Geopolitics and Roman Trachimets is also a part of that campaign. So guys, by donating to that campaign, you will also make him happy. And I still call you to donate to my PayPal, which is at the top of the screen there, and you can get the tickets for this flag with that donation. And I just got one, I guess, $50 from Willie Mad Glass for Ukrainian army, raffle tickets, and Putin Hulo. So only, he always says that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's also interesting for the streamers. Does it imply that, like, if you send some money, does it imply that the soldiers can write something on the SPG? On the bomb,
not here.
On behalf of people donating.
Unfortunately, not here. Not in my initiative. I'm I don't have those connections. You know?
Okay.
I mean, I have some of them, but it's even more work. It's even more work though, and it will. Yeah, I see. Maybe if it's gonna get harder to get donations, maybe I start doing that. But for now, rollers understand that they're doing this for soldiers primarily, and this is just a bonus that they can get for their help. So they're I think most of the community members see it like that. Thank you very much for that donation of $50, Willie Matt Glass, and that means we're on $585 and only 115 left to get to 700.
Did you say something about a patch that you had?
I said, and I already have them here.
Wow.
So guys, I'm giving these two the amazing Free Azov patch. You have been to Free Azov, Alex, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what's that,
My
and
end in existence.
can you tell us your impression about Free Azov as a journalist, as a foreign journalist, who actually worked in Ukraine for how many years? 3 years now?
9, almost 10. Yeah, almost 10.
So you're in Ukraine for so long?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're discovering it only in the end of the
I
spring.
know. I'm very shy. I'm very media shy for a journalist.
I missed this?
Introduced himself. He said, "I've been here for 9 years."
Shit, sorry. I
It's
missed
okay,
that
it's
part.
okay.
But
So what's my take on do you want to know my take on Azov, or do you want to know my take on the Free Azov movement?
on Free Azov movement,
Okay.
and when you're there on the rallies, have you been on the rallies?
I've been on a few, yeah, but like just
only in
passing
Kyiv
by.
or
Only
maybe
in
in
Kyiv,
other
only in
towns?
Kyiv, yeah.
Because I've been only in Kyiv, and it's
No, I think it's a good movement, and I think it's a good reminder that first of all, Azov soldiers are, I believe, a target of choice for Ukrainian prisoners of war in general are a target of choice for Russian atrocities, but especially Azov people, because they sort of show to the Russians a certain form of strength, especially from the Azov style defense. And well, we all know what happened in Olenivka. We all know what happened with that kind of things to prisoners of war. So I think it's a good reminder that I've met recently with some Russian prisoners of war here in Ukraine.
oh.
Yeah,
Was it in the camp or somewhere in
I can't
pre-trial
say.
detention?
I can't say. I can't say right away.
Because I watch all of those interviews of Zolkin and Karpenko. You know Zolkin and Karpenko, right? Dmitro and Volodymyr. And I interrupted you. Please continue.
No. But my point is that they have access to medical treatment. They have access to books. They are, not talked to with difference, but at least they're talked to like human beings. They're not starved. And they have decent condition of living, right? Compared to the kind of treatment. And we actually had a guy from Azov who had been liberated, who was taking care of these soldiers. He showed us the picture. The guy is like twice my size, tall-wise, and I'm very tall. And he was like 40 kilos when he got out of Russian captivity. 40 kilos. He was a skeleton. Yeah. My point is that there's a massive discrepancy between the treatment of Russian prisoners of war here in Ukraine and basically how Ukrainian prisoners of war are being treated. And I'm thinking about Azov soldiers because, especially in such cases, they're a symbol. And for the Russians, too, they're a symbol on, the one that you have to treat even worst, because obviously they are the defenders that humiliated Russia for a long time. So I think it's good to it's a good reminder that not to forget them.
I noticed Cheryl asking you if you speak Ukrainian, and Yulia answered for you. She said from her unmasking
Yes, but I'm shy now. There's too
account,
many people.
that Alex speaks fantastic Ukrainian. То що, Алекс, може будемо українською розмовляти?
Я розмовляю українською, але зараз буде нелегко, тому що є багато людей. You see, I'm shy.
A shy Ukrainian. Okay.
Listen, he can sing so many Ukrainian resistance songs and tell you about Ukrainian history and Makhno and everything. He's more Ukrainian sometimes than I am.
Okay, Julia, I think you have my patch, right?
Yes, I do.
You do, but Alex don't yet. So Alex, here's also a patch of regular Ukrainian.
Very 80s. I like the color.
It's the baptism to the channel,
Oh wow, thank you.
Well, I can shake your hand. Well, you can shake my hand for that, right?
You can do both.
You are now allowed to shake his hand.
Oh, it's not like that. Hey, 15 bucks from Darpat. Love and support from frustrated American. Wish I could do more. Slava Ukraini. Heroям slava. Thank you. Any donation helps, and I repeat that there are no small donations. There are ones that are bigger than the others, but any donation helps. So thank you for $15, and that brings us to 600. Good job, guys. Yeah. If we get 100 more in the next 2 minutes,
No pressure.
Prometheus UA is in the chat. Hello everyone, finally caught up with the stream at 2x speed. Oh my god, it's been 2 hours, guys. Baptism to the channel, Greta smiles. Greta was here this month in the beginning, or last month. No, she left last month. But yeah, we had, or maybe like the first, okay, it doesn't matter. But anyway, she was here a guest on a couple of my streams, and she's now hanging out in the chat and joined the community. So yeah, that
was best under pressure.
That baptism. yeah, exactly. So guys, come on, only 2 minutes left. Let's do it. Come on, let's do it. Let's pressure them together. Come on.
That's all right.
Let's be anxious.
I can be anxious. I don't know if I can pressure people.
I'm joking. Just be an extreme sometimes.
Someone's hungry.
Dark Oblation is hungry.
Some people on your streams, so technically a lot of my audience came from Rick, like on YouTube specifically, and some of them have like the funniest YouTube handles. There's Demon Orb, which is my absolute favorite handle. I also saw one today that was the Wizard of Ooze, which I find just, some of these, like Dark Oblation is also probably up there with my favorite handles. Yeah, there are quite a few that are just like hilarious. There were Russian trolls that named themselves.
There's something about I saw some big Alex here. Okay.
Big Alex.
So something in capitalized. Anyways, so how I don't know. It's my first stream. How does it work usually? Like on that matter, since we have what 1 minute left. How long?
Technically.
Can I get that one? Yeah, sure. You have that one for 2, okay?
Yeah.
So guys, usually we just say, okay, thank you, then that's that.
Usually you just threaten them to donate more.
No, I'm not gonna threaten anyone. I mean, come on.
Sometimes, we're actually pulling out our knives and asking kindly people to donate.
It doesn't really.
Your best French generals under Napoleon.
Nah, it doesn't reflect. It won't reflect well.
Guys, I can tell that this man is too kind to even threaten you. So you have not the most gentle host. I'm a very kind person and very, but I can be pushy. Yeah, I'm just a good salesman. Okay.
You are a brilliant salesman.
Thank you. Okay, let's show the offer for the last time for today.
I never thought I would say this to anyone, but you could sell used cars, and it would be a very popular situation.
Okay, I can use. I can sell the used cars, Yulia says, if you didn't hear that, because the microphone was pretty far. Guys, that's the flag of Chimera, signed by 10 of the soldiers from the unit. And of course, one of them is an officer, I guess. That's obvious. But maybe not. Some soldiers are also becoming the commanders of the drone teams, just because it mostly goes like on the horizontal level and not by subordination. So we're covering you again, guys. We started saying that it's like old people sitting with
like the blade and
blankets.
just like the pipe and
so we're covering people with blankets here. So you guys told me that we needed to wrap up already, so before we go, maybe you tell rollers what you think and what you want to say, give your message to the world, to the great people that are watching, but also maybe for also some random people who are not so great watching.
Random people who are not so great watching trolls.
Trolls, yeah.
I mean, hey, if you're Russian trolls, honestly, at this point, after 3 years, if you have not found a better job, I feel very sorry for you. That really is, if that's the top of your intellectual capacity, that's upsetting.
That's what I was what I expected when I asked you to do that. Thank you, Yulia. I know that I always can count on you on addressing trolls. You're very good at this, okay? You always amazed me on your streams how you always
lost my shit.
How you always kick their ass pretty pretty
while losing my
wild,
shit.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're good people and you're listening and you've been helping Ukraine for the past however long, then thank you very much. Honestly, we really appreciate it, and we need it right now more than ever, given the state of the world. And also, if you sit there and think that this is way too far away from you and not going to happen to you, again, remember, the tyrants don't do things overnight. So...
The Mr. Gasolin asked, if is Yulia American or something? How is her English so good?
Oh my god, please.
She needs to answer that one.
You know, I just woke up this morning and lost my accent. No, I speak English since... It's like people used to ask me, they're like, where did your accent go? And I'm like, I don't know, I lost it. But no, I speak...
Actually, you lose your accent when you speak Ukrainian.
What do you mean?
You don't have an American accent when you speak Ukrainian.
Why would I have an American accent? I am Ukrainian.
I just wanted to point that out so people know. Because they don't hear you speaking Ukrainian often, right?
I mean, if I speak Ukrainian, then I'm Ukrainian because I'm Ukrainian. But I speak English since I was 3, and the person that I learned English from, aka my nanny, was well, not nanny, but like it's weird. My parents found this woman who did not speak Ukrainian, and she spoke English, and I hung out with her since I was 3 or 4 or something. So that's when I started speaking English, and then I also lived in America for the past 14 years. I moved back here 1 year ago. He hates the United States, as French do.
I think there's just an ungrateful bunch.
An ungrateful bunch is the nicest way.
Without France, there wouldn't be the U.S. And we still want Louisiana back.
Did I send you that meme that I found the other day? It was basically like the year in which like the French sent the Statue of Liberty to the U.S. and then the other. Okay, I'll find
Julia,
it.
Julia Darpad says, "Wow, I thought she was American."
Yes, I'm a great chameleon. Thank you very much. SBU / insert agency here spy. What do the French have? Do they have like an MI6 alternative?
I'm so shocked. You really think we don't have secret services?
No, but what are they called?
DGSE. It depends. DGSE is international. DGSE is inside. Or the opposite. I don't remember. That's how secretive they are.
That's why I don't know this name, because like no one in their right mind can pronounce that unless you're French.
Exactly. That's how good we are.
Step number 1: have no one been able to pronounce it.
Okay. DSG. Yeah. Elvin Archer says DSG, I believe, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we change the name every 10 years anyway, so you know.
Shh, it's secret.
What about the Statue of Liberty? Are the French taking it back?
We don't have much room these days, but I don't know. Maybe we should. Yeah, maybe we should.
You can put it next to the Eiffel Tower.
We already have a small part of the small replica, like the hands of the Statue of Liberty near the Eiffel Tower. And there's not much room in Paris anymore. So yeah. But Louisiana, yeah, definitely. We're taking back New Orleans.
My least favorite city in America.
Okay. Yeah, I see you don't want to finish the stream, just like I don't want to finish it. So let's keep going until 9, until they close. What do you think?
Yeah, half an hour, yeah.
24 more minutes. I know that Yulia has to work, so we gotta ask her. I'm not pressuring you, Yulia. If you want to finish it now, we can do it now.
No, I'm fine. I just know that both of us had work, so I figured I would...
Yeah, actually we do. But like it's, let's say, yeah.
Okay,
15 minutes?
maybe up until 55, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, to not make them work longer, okay? So let's do it. Viva la France probably
Merci.
needs to burn the desk. What do you mean by that? For a sec.
Where is it?
Wait, no, it's not for a sec. It was McPigeon's message. What I miss? My Wi-Fi dropped for a sec. Thank you, McPigeon, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here, guys. And start... what? You stopped donating. We raised $600, but can we really get to 700 today, guys? Come on, only 100 left. If everyone sends...
I'm gonna leave Alex with this. Here's my phone.
What is that?
I'm gonna go smoke now. vape outside. I don't smoke cigarettes. Also, that cookie
Also,
is.
people don't hear you.
Oh, there was nothing important to say, to be fair.
Yeah, Yulia doesn't smoke cigarettes. She smokes weed.
Vape.
Wait, I'm joking. I'm joking. What? Was it too much? Too much of a joke?
I'm trying.
There was a lie, yes, I know. But it's like Elon Musk. Oh, we can make mistakes in our statements, you know. What about freedom of speech? We need to imitate Russian accent when we speak like Elon Musk. No. I mean Elon Muscovite. Me too. You know, but sometimes I imitate it when I try to translate some Russians, because sometimes I translate the videos of Sternenko. Are you watching some of his stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting character, isn't it?
Yes. Take this one.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys know about Sternenko.
Of course, I tell them about him a lot. He was actually the first guy to make Russaries before it became mainstream, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's a complex character, to say the least.
Well, he's a radical character.
Yeah.
This is why you must be saying he's a complex character. But to be honest, you know, being radical is what we need these days, because that's the only way to survive as a nation, is to provide the ultimate resistance to Russians, and to really what he's doing. He is. With his drone project.
No, I think I believe the drone project is interesting, and I think I'm saying that because I also believe that my love for Ukraine shouldn't obscure a certain journalistic ethics. Mm-hmm. And in fairness, he had I don't want to say a dark past, but all the cases against him in Odessa and whatnot was a little bit muddy. And
you know why it was muddy? Because he was ordered, meaning his assassination was ordered 3 times, and he was fighting back and killing one of the assassins. This is why people call it dirty, but that's just because he killed someone.
I'm aware, but still, you know, like this is something that you have to take into account when you talk about characters. Yeah. Yes.
Luckily, I'm not a journalist.
No, I know,
and I can say whatever I want.
I know. I'm just saying that it's also important to remind that, and to, you know, even when we talk about Azov and stuff like that, to have all the nuances, kind of thing. Because when you talked earlier about fighting propaganda with truth, it also helps having this nuance arguments. You know, not to have something very.
Yeah, you're right.
I think and that's also fundamental for people to understand that Ukraine is also on the side of, like, okay, there are problematic characters. Sometimes there are like characters with a shady past, stuff like that. But in the meantime, there's always room for redemption first, and there's always room for, how to put it, nuances. You know, and I think that's important. That's important to remind.
I agree.
You know,
I just
being far from the caricature.
I'm just thinking about what you're saying, and he was a problematic character only to pro-Russian politicians, not for any Ukrainian patriots. He was always problematic, controversial for pro-Russian politicians and their corrupt associates. You know, that's the problem. This is why all of that so-called bad reputation was made up by pro-Russian forces, and unfortunately you see still a lot of people being really careful with him, but it's just about learning, and actually he won the court. In the court he was, how do you call that, when person is winning the court? Appeal, but in Ukrainian he won the case, but коли суд виправдує, да, когось, як це, виправданий судом in English.
He got his record extinguished or charges dropped.
Okay,
charges dropped. Yes, charges were dropped against him.
So record is expunged, charges are dropped. God, I've been to Ukraine for way too long.
Come on, you speak English here in Ukraine as much as you do
Well, you know what was really
in
funny?
US.
So our mutual friend Edward photographer, right? So him and I were sitting in the car, and we had been speaking to a lot of Ukrainians that were speaking English, and then we talked to each other, right? And we're like sitting in the car, and Ed is like, "Oh my god, I've been around weird English for so long that I now speak weird English," and me too, because we were like both using weird tenses and weird things, and we were like, "It's okay, that's what happens in Ukraine. You just start speaking a special type of English."
Wow, guys, you won't believe it, but we got to $100 thanks to Amonsky.
Wow.
Thank you, Amonsky. He donated 100 and said, "I'm buying one round, LOL." What does he mean with that? Like he's buying the drinks?
Yeah, it's like,
Like around.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amonsky. But of course, we're not using that for drinks. We're using it to buy the equipment for the army. In this case, a car for the 3rd Assault Brigade unit, a drone unit. They also work with heavy bombers, the Vampire drones, and other drones, aggro drones, because Vampire is not the only model.
I think that's also an interesting point. Is that you basically by doing that, you're also part of a very interesting technological leap. So progress, so to speak, because it's still war, but it still kills people, obviously. But in the meantime, the more, and that's interesting with this war, the more Ukraine develops drones, the more it saves lives, and the more you can have. Actually, quite recently, there was the first assault entirely made of combined drone attacks, like ground drones and basically flying drones. And it saved the life of the life of scouting soldiers. It saved the lives of many people at the end of the day. So I think it's an interesting way to look at it. Obviously, having been under the noise of flying drones not far from Pokrovsk, it's a terrifying noise. But in the meantime, on the Ukrainian side, when you have like a meat grinder tactic, like Russia is using right now on the front line, and the only way, because the American help is dwindling and whatnot, is sort of like David against Goliath kind of thing. This tactic of like using drones. Donating is also part of this effort, also to save lives here. It's not only a war thing. That's my point,
But also, honestly, like I think if the U.S. is gonna change or switch fully to the Russian side at the end of the day, if we look historically, all of the tyrannical regimes, they lose. Like, some time passes, and of course with a great effort, but they do end up losing. So if the US joins Russia and turns away from the rest of the free world, then I think at the end of the day, when all of this is over, they're going to be on the bottom with it. Although I can argue that the world order is already changing rapidly because no one trusts the US. Yep. And it's not like 4 years from now, if there is going to be an election, something is going to change. It's like that stain is already there.
Yeah, and the question is like, how long does it take, and how many, if we talk about this war in Ukraine, for instance, and you see the youth of I'm thinking about people like Da Vinci or Roman Ratushny, those like young generation that were really promising young women and men who were fell on the battlefield. Russia is also swiping out an entire promising generation here, and the longest this war lasts, the longer Russia tries to kill the future of Ukraine in the egg.
And that's not just tries, but succeeds. Unfortunately.
I don't know if you saw that, but also Roman Ratushny's older brother died.
Yeah.
So you see I'm not sure if they had another brothers and sisters. So that family line might have been breaking, and you see both of them were pretty active, and they were serving Ukraine, and so many families like them unfortunately have been.
Actually very interesting, because their mom said that they both died happy because they were doing what they wanted to do and what they were meant to do, and I thought it was such an heart-wrenching thing from a parent to say. You lost both of your children, and they were both in the trenches of hell, basically.
Yes.
And what you find positive in it is that they died doing what they wanted to do. Fighting for their country.
Yeah, it's this is why we say, well, first of all, $30 from Otto from Netherlands. Thank you very much, Otto, for that donation. So we're on 730 today already. Good job, guys. That's also your doing, and also those $800 on NAFO truck campaign.
I don't know what happened there, but whatever works.
And I just wanted to go back. Tuna. I've seen that. We actually discussed that. You probably missed that moment, but we discussed the donation from Martin there, $800, which is 730 euros. Great job, MVS. Thank you.
Just inspired me. Well, this is so random. This is aimed at Alex. You know who Rick should team up with patches and donations?
Coco? Coco Bongo is a very quiet / shy guy. Okay, you can show the patch if you want. So there is a very famous journalist. His name is Coco Bongo 66. Maybe you've met him, you saw him. It's like you can take it. And it's this like Irish journalist. We can do a bit of advertisement for him. Very crazy Irish guy, very talented journalist, and yeah. But I'm not sure on how comfortable he would be going on a live stream. So let's, yeah. But yeah, a little bit of
funny.
Advertisement for Coco Bongo is.
He does some crazy frontline reporting, like he's.
His work is definitely worth looking into. Yeah.
So he is like a war journalist, war reporter,
He's
and
an independent work correspondent, and he works for a bunch of different outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, not giving this to you. Just wanted to bring it close. Sorry, Yulia. I'm calling it like this so we can catch both of us. Battleship. Yeah, that's funny. Is that an anti-aircraft gun on a sheep?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh my God. That's funny. Prometheus UA, a fellow Ukrainian, says, today I read an article where Americans want to learn about advanced Ukrainian technologies in drones. I propose to exchange them for 100 F-35s and 5s probably in this case, and a couple of aircraft carriers. That's a good idea. You know, we have such good drone technologies. They are so good. We can share some of them with you for some F-35. But you gotta say thank you
Trump
for those. You gotta say thank you a few more times.
But in fairness, it was almost there.
You did say in fairness, so someone has to donate.
Did they agree to that?
I don't know if they did. I agreed for them. This is not a democracy.
Okay.
No, but the fact that I think it's an interesting dynamic, because the fact that Ukraine might be providing that means that Ukraine also will have this leverage, right? Saying, okay, we have this drone technology, we may help you with drone technology while withholding some drone technology, but that means that, you know, if you try and have leverage over us, we can also have leverage over you guys. So sometimes the small guys with a very advanced technology can actually help have
Taiwan is the example.
Exactly,
Taiwan
with
has leverage.
microchips and those kind of things. So I believe that if Ukraine plays it well, meaning that, yeah, we give you a little bit of like drone advanced technology while withholding some stuff, and like next time you try and blackmail us, we do the same with drones. And it's actually way easier to have a switch kill on a drone than an F-35. So, you know, why not? Why not using it that way? You know, blackmail can go
That's actually a great idea, and provided that Ukraine is the first one that made like marine drones.
Yeah.
You know, sea babies.
Yeah, like literally Ukraine is the first country which has, you know, put down an entire fleet without having a navy.
Yeah.
Which is quite impressive.
Yeah, actually.
We're pioneers in drone technologies, either the flying ones or the sea ones, and that really gives us some leverage, and I think we should use it. Thank you, Prometheus UA. I'll talk to Zelensky tomorrow, and we'll arrange that. 100 F-35 might be enough. Yeah, I think so.
Let's start.
Julia, we'll use some of your connections. Oh, and yours, Alex, through United 24, obviously, Zelensky's foundation.
Well,
you know.
he is way more direct.
Yeah, so you know. Okay, you wanted to take it, obviously.
No,
you wanted to say something.
you were giving it to me.
Then I'll take it back.
Take it back.
I don't know. Guys, do you like this experience today?
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Okay, so should we repeat this someday?
Sure.
It's different, right? When you're talking like in person than when you're doing it from like connecting online. It's not the same.
For sure.
And I don't know. I'm looking into the chat. We need to engage with brawlers for the last 2 minutes. Oh my god, again 2 minutes. And then I'll say, let's do it for half an hour more. No, the place.
Because these guys are gonna close behind us.
Yeah. in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, actually in 7, but we'll finish in 2 and give them 5 more minutes to
Push us out.
push us out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ukraine holds so much important data now. Only idiots push Ukraine away. Yeah. This is why.
No, you guys do you. I'm gonna go grab a thingy for that cookie that I'm sending Alex home with.
Yeah.
Oatmeal raisin cookie.
Oh, okay.
Alex, what were you doing in Ukraine before the full-scale invasion? Also reporting?
Yeah, so I
from
started
the front line.
Yeah, so I started in 2016 as a freelance reporter in Donbass. Then on the front line. Then I worked for UA. At the time, it was UA TV. It was on the TV in English as a field reporter, then an anchorman for 3 years. Then I worked as a business reporter at the time for Kyiv Post. Then we all got fired. We created Kyiv Independent, and there I was back on the front line because it was in 2021. And then when the full-scale invasion started, I was missing the front line a lot. So I put the bulletproof vest back, and since then that's what I do.
Oh, so you're one of the founders of Kyiv Independent.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And you kind of branched out from Kyiv Post, if I know this correctly.
It's a long story. You will need more than 1 minute.
Okay.
but
actually zero already.
For the next one, maybe.
Okay.
But it's a long story. But we all got fired from Kyiv Post, and so we created Kyiv Independent to sum it up. Yeah.
Guys, this stream was really cool because Hooves, for example, says best stream ever. Wow. Good job. Good job, guys. So what? I want to say that you guys are amazing. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for hosting us.
Rollers, you are amazing. Thank you for all the donations. And I just want to say that in your hands, supportive hands, we are closing the fundraisers in time and even faster than sometimes I expect. So thank you. Our soldiers really have some extra chances to save their lives with that equipment, because a car on the front line is always something that can extract people faster from the positions. Some thermal scope also helps them to get through, or a night vision device through the mined road in the night, and stuff like that is important, and unfortunately governments are not providing most of that. It's a big war, and we're fighting the country that has 10 times more resources. So your support is very much appreciated. When I ask for donations, know that I ask it with a gratitude, with respect. Just like they should ask Godfather, I ask you. I ask.
Slight threatening note at the end.
No, it's not. I'm actually not the Godfather in this situation. It's the opposite. They are the Godfather. And yes, we have the tactical plan here today with us, and Roman is not here to hide in it. So Alex was hiding under it for a bit. Now my turn. Yulia was also hiding.
This plan is a lot more tactical than I expected. Honestly, I thought I would fit right under it, but no.
Okay.
It's yours.
Right.
Your phone. Okay, so guys, should we finish?
Yeah,
Anything to say before we go?
All good.
Well,
thank you for following the stream, guys.
Yes. Agreed. Thank you for being here. I missed you. I try. Yes.
Yeah, come here more often, Yulia. Would be awesome. So guys, as as we say. Come on, can you do
I'm
it?
not sure I can do. See, I
What
can't
about
do it.
what about the second hand?
It's really hard.
What about the
It's
second?
It's super hard.
Try. A second might be better. Yeah, you see, second,
Like this
second
one,
work.
This one I can't do it.
Second work. So live long, prosper, and donate, guys. And Slava Ukraini.
You did it. Somewhat.
Yeah. Okay. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Героям слава. Okay. I need to go here. Yes. Awesome. So I have 2 mics now. Thank you, guys. Love you all.